Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Martial Universe Season 7 based on novel. So let's start. A dozen figures hovered in the deep blue horizon, as wild yuan power continuously radiated from their bodies. Their gazes were currently filled with a rich malicious intent as they stared at the crevice on the cliff wall. Hiding for one night isn't enough for you, Lin Dong. With his hands crossed behind his back, Yao Ling stared coldly at the pitch-black crevice. A cold and gloomy voice carrying unconcealable murderous aura and anger rang out. After a night of searching, it was obvious that he was quite furious. Your nose can certainly compete with that of a dog's. At this moment, a soft chuckle emerged out from within the crevice. Following which, the giant rock split open, causing rubble to fly as two figures flew out from within before landing on the mountain peak. The two figures were naturally Lin Dong and Ying Huan. After revealing himself, Lin Dong's eyes quickly swept across the sky. Right now, there were less people around compared to yesterday. However, this lineup was still not to be underestimated. Other than Yao Ling, who was the toughest to deal with, the other members of Devil Seal Mass, Su Lei and Luo Yi, who he had previously fought with, were also present. As for the rest, based on their aura, all of them should be at the 7 Yuan Nirvana stage. 19 Yuan Nirvana stage, 28 Yuan Nirvana stage, and over 7 people at the 7 Yuan Nirvana stage. Even though Lin Dong had already prepared to face such a formidable lineup, he still involuntarily clenched the fist in his sleeve. Ying Huan stood behind Lin Dong and looked towards the sky while a shocked expression flashed within her eyes. She knew that Lin Dong's actual strength far exceeded that which he showed on the surface. Nonetheless, he was only at the 5 Yuan Nirvana stage. Purely based on that, it would be extremely difficult for him just to deal with Yao Ling alone. Furthermore, there were other villains like Su Lei and Luo Yi, who were highly ranked in the sex wanted list. Rat, this time you will not have the chance to escape, said Yao Ling gloomily as he stared sinisterly at the youth standing atop the mountain peak. If you obediently hand over the ancient immortal Yuan seed, we can let you lovers die together. Otherwise, we will torture both of you till you beg for your own deaths. After saying this statement, Yao Ling's expression turned ferocious. The murderous aura he radiated was akin to the edge of a blade, causing the temperature of the surrounding area to decrease. Lin Dong's expression remained calm, as he tilted his head slightly and looked towards the young lady behind him, before he softly said, "Go." After she heard him, Ying Huan could not help but gently bite her lip. A tinge of hesitation flashed clearly across her eyes. Looking at the current situation, if she was to leave Lin Dong behind, it would inevitably not bode well for him. How about I stay behind and help you? I have learnt the formless body sound and should, replied Ying Huan after hesitating for a while. Go. However, before she could even finish her words, Lin Dong turned his head around, looked at her and said casually, without a shred of fear in his voice. Looking at the thin young man in front of her, Ying Huan could not help but clench her jade-like hands. She could hear a trace of anger within Lin Dong's words. This was the first time she had ever seen this deeply prudent and cautious youth angry since she met him. Be careful. Ying Huan clenched her jade-like hands, before she took in a deep breath. After she glanced at the man in front of her with a complicated expression, she turned around and left without a shred of hesitation. Thinking of leaving? Su Lei, stop her. When Yao Ling saw this scene, he sneered instead before he commanded. Yes. Hearing Yao Ling's exclamation, Su Lei, who was standing nearby, gave a hearty laugh before he replied. With a stomp of his foot, his body turned into a flash as he chased after Ying Huan. Swoosh. However, the instant he took off, a figure swiftly appeared in front of him like a phantom. With a grasp of his hand, a gigantic pitch-black ancient tree appeared in a flash in his hands. Carrying the tree by its roots, the pitch-black tree carried an extremely heavy force as it violently hacked down on Sulei. "You're courting death." It was obvious that Sulei was no pushover. Upon witnessing Lin Dong's obstruction, he chuckled instead. With a grasp of his hand, a silver lightning blade appeared with a flash. With a tilt of his blade, it brought along the roar of thunder as it heavily slashed at the ancient tree. Dang! When the two objects collided, a clear metallic sound together with a frightening force unfurled in the sky. When his lightning blade clashed with the ancient tree, Sulei's expression suddenly changed as alarm flashed past his eyes. That was because he had realized that when his lightning blade touched that ancient tree, the yuan power in his body started to become sluggish. There's something off about that thing. Sulei was a man with ample experience. With a thought, he knew that this was likely caused by Lin Dong's weird black tree. Thus, his body immediately moved as he quickly tried to retreat. However, it was obvious that Lin Dong had no intentions of dragging this fight on. As the current situation was very unfavorable towards him, there was no reason for him to give up on an opportunity like this. Hence, the instant the yuan power within Sulei's body turned sluggish, a grey line on Lin Dong's forehead started to rapidly condense. Finally his desolate demon eye appeared once again. A grey beam of light, containing an extremely destructive force, directly exploded out from within and violent shot towards Sulei's heart. The speed of the grey beam of light was extremely fast. When Sulei saw Lin Dong's killing move, he was so frightened that cold sweat emerged on his body. He quickly tried to activate the yuan power within his body and created a yuan power shield in front of him. Kai! The grey beam of light smashed ruthlessly against the surface of the yuan power shield. Its extremely destructive power revealed itself at this moment. Several cracks appeared on the seemingly sturdy yuan power shield, before it directly ruptured with a loud bang as the grey beam directly penetrated through it. Although the yuan power shield did not manage to block the grey beam, it managed to slow it down. Meanwhile, Sulei used this opportunity to hastily retreat. However, it was obvious that his speed was not equal to that of the grey beam. Hence, after he took 2 steps back, that grey beam had already struck his shoulder with lightning speed. Peng! A savage force crazily struck against Sulei's shoulders. The frightening power shook Sulei and caused him to fly back like a cannonball. At the same time, fresh blood gushed out from his shoulder. Sulei hideously retreated a dozen steps as he clutched his shoulder, which was spewing fresh blood. Right now, he was somewhat shocked. Immediately, his face was covered by a malevolent expression. He was somewhat unable to imagine that he had actually gotten injured after fighting Lin Dong for the first time. "You little bastard, I will slaughter you," roared Sulei, as a scarlet-red murderous aura filled his eyes. Kai! Just as Sulei's roar resounded out, Lin Dong had already dashed towards him at lightning speed. His pitch-black pupils were filled with an intense cold. Raising the black ancient tree in his hand like a gigantic club, he violently swung it at Sulei's body without restraint, ripping through the air while doing so. Dong! A low and deep sound echoed before Sulei, who had just stabilized himself, flew away once again. In the end, he violently smashed into a mountain cliff, his entire body deeply embedded into it. "If you want to kill me, you should at least be prepared to leave something behind, right?" After slapping away Sulei, Lin Dong tilted his head and faced the now gloomy Yao Ling and the rest as his lips cracked open into a grin. A terrible aura overflowed from that smile. Yao Ling shot a glance at Sulei, who was struggling to free himself from the cliff. He was indeed rather amazed right now. He was extremely clear about Su Lei's strength. However, Lin Dong managed to thrash him with a single attack. Although it was somewhat unexpected, Lin Dong's was actually as ruthless as them, villains whose hands were stained with the blood of countless lives. Your true strength is indeed much more powerful than what you show on the surface. However, do you really believe that you can escape today? Mocked Yao Ling as he shot an indifferent smile at Lin Dong, before slowly walking forward. Following his steps, an extremely strong fluctuation started to radiate out of his body and fill the air. Under this fluctuation, even Lin Dong's breath slowed for a moment, causing his expression to gradually turn serious. 9 Yuan Nirvana stage, this strength was indeed much stronger than his own. No matter how you struggle before me, there will only be one fate for you. Yao Ling slowly raised his hand towards Lin Dong and clenched it before softly chuckling, "You will not escape from me. Boss, after you get hold of that brat, let me properly entertain him. I plan to break every bone one by one." Covered in fresh blood, Su Lei climbed out from the mountain cliff. He cut an extremely sorry figure, and even his aura was quite dispirited. It was obvious that the injuries caused by Lin Dong's rapid attack were quite severe. As a result, his expression turned sinister, and it looked as if he wanted to completely devour Lin Dong. After obtaining the ancient immortal Yuan seed, I'll leave him to you. Yao Ling smiled in an indifferent manner. Gently twisting his neck from side to side, he slowly stepped forward. From this action, anyone could tell that he wanted to personally take action. Lin Dong's pupils contracted slightly, as he watched Yao Ling slowly walk towards him. Taking a deep breath, a vicious aura flickered within his eyes. He proceeded to extend his palm, as 5 scarlet-red ancient immortal Yuan fruits appeared in his palm. This young master has faced countless life and death situations over the past few years. Therefore, my ruthlessness is something that you will not understand. Lin Dong raised his head and revealed a seemingly monstrous, an evil grin at Yao Ling and the rest. In the next instant, he opened his mouth. Finally, under the chilling gazes of Yao Ling and the rest, he proceeded to shove all 5 ancient immortal Yuan fruits into his mouth. 5 bright red ancient immortal Yuan fruits emitted a gulp sound as they moved down Lin Dong's throat and were swallowed into his stomach. Ancient immortal Yuan fruit. When Yao Ling saw this scene, there was not a tinge of shock in his eyes. Instead, he shook his head somewhat pitifully as he said, "Ignorant fool. Looks like you have never seen an ancient immortal Yuan fruit before. Do you know how fierce and violent the energy contained within a fruit is? Swallowing 5 at the same time, forget about you, it is likely that even I would not be able to digest all of them. You might think that your action is fearsome, but it is merely just a foolish and rash act. What a stupid brat." Yao Ling's face had a cold smile as he stared at Lin Dong. Given the current situation, it was likely that he did not even need to take action. In fact, Lin Dong would likely be tormented by that wild and violent energy, until he end up suffering a fate worse than death. Su Lei, Luo Yi and the rest beside him were also looking at Lin Dong in a mocking manner. It was as if they were looking forward to see just how miserable the latter would be after this. Is that so? However, Lin Dong, who had swallowed all 5 ancient immortal Yuan fruits in front of their gloating eyes, slowly raised his head. A mocking expression flashed across his eyes, which had a faint green glow flowing within it. This energy is indeed violent. However, it is not enough to do anything to me, Lin Dong. Therefore, all of you may be disappointed. Lin Dong pressed his hands together. Following which, he placed his fingers together before numerous dazzling palm movements occurred. Soon after, a low and deep cry was emitted from his throat. Buzz buzz. Waves after waves of shockingly frightening energy fluctuation suddenly swept out from Lin Dong's body the moment his cry sounded. Even Lin Dong's skin turned red under this sweeping energy. I look forward to watching you die. The cold smile in Yao Ling's eyes became richer when he saw this. Suppress. The seal formed by Lin Dong's hands changed in a lightning-like fashion. A low and deep voice also resounded within his heart. His voice was just like thunder that rumbled within his body. After which, the ancient universe formation that was suspended over his dantian started to tremble. Traces of light scattered from the ancient formation. It was just like an enormous net that directly covered the incomparably wild and violent crimson energy within Lin Dong's body. Bang bang. The flood water like crimson energy collided ruthlessly onto the large net. However, the latter did not even move a little as it firmly trapped it, causing the energy to be unable to escape or wreak havoc. Quieten down. Another warm light erupted. It transformed into a stone talisman that was suspended above the majestic energy. Numerous light poured down. Immediately, the violence that was within the majestic energy was also swiftly washed away. Swallow. Another low and deep cry sounded before a black ancient symbol appeared in a flash. Monstrous devouring power erupted like a black hole. Crash. The majestic bright red energy began pour into the black hole continuously. After which, it swallowed all the violence that was within it. Only then did it transform into a vigorous energy that followed Lin Dong's inner channels and began circulating across his body. With the help of the ancient universe formation, the mysterious stone talisman, and the devouring ancestral symbol, Lin Dong had basically perfectly suppressed all the savage energy within the 5 ancient immortal yuan fruits. Of course, successfully suppressing it did not mean he could completely absorb them. Currently, Lin Dong was indeed unable to perform this step. What he wanted to do was not to use those 5 ancient immortal yuan fruits to raise his strength. Instead, he merely wanted a temporarily boost in strength. With this boost, he would possess fighting strength that was comparable to Yao Ling's group. However, it was extremely easy for this frightening energy that suddenly erupted to exceed the limit that one's body could endure. Once Lin Dong's physical body was unable to endure the assault from such an enormous energy, it would become just like a balloon and explode with a bang. The vast and mighty energy was like a torrent as it surged towards all of Lin Dong's limbs. Waves after waves of frightening energy also swiftly rose. Lin Dong could sense a piercing pain being emitted from within his veins. Green heaven materialized dragon skill. Lin Dong inhaled a deep breath of air as he sensed the activity within his meridians. An unusual green light suddenly surged out from deep within his eyes. The green light spread towards every part of Lin Dong's body. While the green light spread, some green scales actually quietly appeared on the inner walls within Lin Dong's body. These scales were just like a defensive layer that protected Lin Dong meridians. After these scales appeared, the painful bursting sensation from his meridians was immediately halved. Creak. Lin Dong's hands slowly clenched tightly. An excited arc appeared onto Lin Dong's face, as he sensed the unprecedented formidable strength surging within his body. With the help of the 3 divine items within his body along with the superb strength of the green heaven materialized dragon skill, the frightening strength generated by 5 ancient immortal yuan fruits was now completely under his control. Although this would only last temporarily, Lin Dong would possess an unusually powerful strength during this period of time. Everyone, are you ready? Lin Dong raised his eyes. Green light lingered within them as he stared at Yao Ling group, parted his mouth and smiled. This bastard. Yao Ling's group watched Lin Dong with gloomy expressions. The fluctuation around Lin Dong's body had soared several times. Meanwhile, there was also a rich disbelief under this gloominess. They were truly unable to believe that Lin Dong was actually able to suppress the energy from 5 ancient immortal yuan fruits. Yao Ling's eyes were dark and cold, and some fear actually rose within his heart. The various feats done by Lin Dong caused him to feel uneasy. If this abnormally perverse fellow was allowed to keep growing, it was likely that he would become a major source of trouble in the future. Yao Ling looked at the young face of Lin Dong, which was filled with a fearsome expression. For some unknown reason, he suddenly remembered that other Dao sect disciple. That person was a truly vicious person, who once charged up to Yuan Gate alone and killed 3 great elders. He must not be allowed to live. When he thought of this point, Yao Ling's heart was suddenly filled with chillness. His eyes flashed before the killing intent within his eyes flared. After which, his body moved and disappeared in a peculiar fashion. Lin Dong stepped on the empty air. A grayish glow surged within the demonic eye between his eyebrows. He looked at Yao Ling, who had disappeared, before the corner of his mouth immediately parted. Both his arms suddenly shook before green light surged. His hands swiftly shook before finally transforming 2 icy cold fearsome-looking green dragon arms. Waves after waves of frightening energy were currently being channeled through both of his arms. Lin Dong's dragon hand gripped the immortal Yuan ancient tree. In the next instant, he took a step forward and directly brandished the ancient tree. It violently smashed at the area in front of him. Squeak! The ancient tree tore through the air and emitted a sharp ear-piercing sound. That strength was almost lifelike. Bang! A fist that was wrapped around by a bright golden light also penetrated through the air and appeared in an unusual manner at the spot where the ancient tree was violently smashing towards. Finally, it carried an incomparably ferocious ripple before it clashed head-on with the ancient tree. A muffled thunder-like sound spread apart in the sky. Wild and violent hurricane-like energy ripples swept apart in a crazy manner before the surrounding mountains immediately cracked. Large rocks continuously rolled downwards. Kai! 2 human figures pulled back from the energy fluctuating point. It looked as if the 2 were of equal strength. With the help of the 5 ancient immortal Yuan fruits, the current Lin Dong was actually able to fight head-on with Yao Ling. Worthy of being a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. Lin Dong steadied his body. He raised his head and smiled towards Yao Ling. During the head-on collision, he finally understood the strength of a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. If it was not because of the 5 ancient immortal Yuan fruits energy supporting him, it was likely that Lin Dong would not be able to fight head-on with Yao Ling. It is a little too early to celebrate now. Rat. I will allow you to truly witness the strength of a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. Yao Ling smiled in a dense manner before he clenched his fist. Vast and mighty Yuan power gathered and directly formed a golden long spear. The spear was emitting an extremely fierce and brutal fluctuation. Kai Kai! Yao Ling rushed out with a lightning-like speed. The long spear within his hand transformed into numerous spear shadows that covered Lin Dong in a storm-like manner. Swoosh! However, just when his spear shadow was about to reach Lin Dong's body, the latter suddenly moved and disappeared. Ah! Yao Ling heard a sharp miserable screech from behind him when Lin Dong's figure had just disappeared. He hurriedly turned his head, only to see a 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert from the Devil Seal mass being smashed by Lin Dong's ancient tree. Thanks to his frightening strength, he had actually directly smashed both of his hands into a blood pulp. Swoosh! After having swung the ancient tree explosively towards one of them, Lin Dong raised his head and revealed a ferocious smile towards Yao Ling. After which, he rushed towards another 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert. Lin Dong did not plan to be entangled with Yao Ling from the beginning. After his strength surged explosively, the current him could kill all these 7 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. Since this was the case, he would naturally need to clear the place. He wanted to kill all these people until not even their souls remain. A horrified expression surfaced in the eyes of the other 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert when he saw Lin Dong charging over towards him. However, he was also a ruthless individual and he did not retreat. Instead, he held a large blade in his hand. With a stern cry, a sharp blade glow violently hacked towards Lin Dong. Boom! The black large tree danced and directly shattered the blade glow. After which, it was accompanied by an enormous shadow as it violently smashed towards the 7 Yuan Nirvana stage expert's head. Immediately, his brains were blown apart. A bloody rain danced over the sky. Luo Yi, Su Lei and the rest looked at the young man, who was bathing in the bloody rain, with a shaken expression. At this moment, even they felt a chillness surging within their hearts. Little bastard! Your father will tear you into tens of thousands of pieces today. Yao Ling watched 2 of his subordinates being finished off by Lin Dong within the blink of an eye, before his eyes immediately became bloody red. After which, a roar that was filled with fury and churning murderous intent resounded in the sky. This ruthless person, who was ranked 4th on the sect wanted list, had finally completely erupted in fury at this moment, because of Lin Dong. A mighty and wild Yuan power swept out from Yao Ling's body in all directions at this moment. His eyes were unusually ferocious as he stared at the figure in the distance. The long spear in his hand shook suddenly. A buzzing sound appeared before 100 feet large spear glow directly penetrated through the empty air and flew explosively towards Lin Dong with a lightning-like speed. The speed of the spear was extremely rapid, and it covered all of Lin Dong's escape paths in the blink of an eye, forcing him to once again halt his attack towards those weaker members of Devil Seal Mass. He forcefully turned his body around and swung the black tree in his hand in a vicious manner. A shocking strength spluttered out. Even the invisible air was blasted apart by his strength, that seemed to possess an actual form. Boom! The 2 collided heavily. A shocking energy ripple spread apart wildly while being accompanied by a loud sound. Lin Dong's body trembled as he hurriedly retreated by over a dozen steps. The black tree in his hand danced before he stabilized his body. Following which, a grave expression flashed across his eyes. There was still a huge gap between him and Yao Ling. Even after he received a temporary boost in strength from swallowing 5 immortal Yuan ancient fruits, there was still a small gap when compared with Yao Ling. Su Lei, Luo Yi, attack together with me and kill this fellow. The others should gather together and lock down this place. Yao Ling stared at Lin Dong with a dark and cold gaze before crying out explosively. He had also calmed down after erupting in fury. Currently, Lin Dong's strength had clearly soared and a 7 Yuan Nirvana stage practitioner was unable to pose any threat towards him. In that case, it was better for him to take the initiative and get those subordinates, who were unable to provide much help, to withdraw. He believed that with his ability, as well as Su Lei and Luo Yi, who had both reached 8 Yuan Nirvana stage, it was likely that Lin Dong would have difficulty escaping regardless of how many tactics the latter had. Yes. Luo Yi and Su Lei nodded upon hearing this. Their eyes flickered as they stared at Lin Dong with a fierce glint flickering in their eyes. Of course, there was currently some fear on top of this fearsome glint. The ruthless manner in which Lin Dong destroyed 2 7 Yuan Nirvana stage experts caused their hearts to quiver a little. Vast and mighty Yuan power fluctuated and slowly surged out from the bodies of the Luo Yi duo. The latter's bodies moved and coincidentally formed a triangular formation together with Yao Ling, locking Lin Dong within it. Attack! A low and deep cry was suddenly emitted from Yao Ling's mouth. He took the lead and rushed forward as the long spear in his hand penetrated through the air. It carried a wild and violent ripple that could shred the Nirvana golden body of an 8 Yuan Nirvana stage expert, as it ruthlessly targeted all of Lin Dong's fatal spots. Luo Yi and Su Lei also attacked when Yao Ling struck. Immediately, Yuan power whistled in the sky. A chilling murderous aura completely engulfed Lin Dong. Lin Dong's eyes flickered. The enormous pressure that permeated towards him also caused his expression to turn extremely grave. When facing the combined attacks of a 9 Yuan Nirvana stage along with 2 8 Yuan Nirvana stage experts, any slight opening that he exposed would definitely lead to certain death. Desolate Demon Eye. A grey line was swiftly formed between Lin Dong's eyebrows. After which, it transformed into a grey demonic eye. The moment his demonic eye appeared, the grey light, that contained an extremely frightening destructive force, directly shot out explosively, and collided head-on with the attack from the Yao Ling trio. Boom boom boom. Wild and violent energy fluctuation swept apart upon contact. However, as it was 1 against 3, the might of the desolate demon eye was clearly scattered significantly. Hence, it was unable to accomplish the same impact as before. Swoosh. However, Lin Dong was clearly not so naive to believe that the attacks from the Yao Ling trio could be blocked so easily. After the grey light rushed out, his body also suddenly pulled back explosively. His footsteps flashed, and he appeared in front of Su Lei. Yao Ling was the strongest amongst the three, while Luo Yi and Su Lei were of equal strength. However, the latter was wounded by Lin Dong earlier and his aura was a little sluggish. Hence, he was considered to be the easiest person to deal with amongst the three of them. Humph. Su Lei was also not a fool. The moment he saw Lin Dong's action, he was aware that the latter wanted to break through the formation from his side. Immediately, he let out a cold snort before majestic Yuan power wildly gathered on his palms. There was a wild and violent force vaguely being emitted. Shattering Yuan palm. Fierce and brutal energy gathered wildly. After which, a palm slammed viciously towards Lin Dong amidst Su Lei's low and deep cry. Thunder rumbled wherever the palm attack passed. However, Lin Dong did not dodge in the face of this fierce and brutal palm attack from Su Lei. Green light surged out from within his body, before they quickly agglomerated into numerous green dragon scales on the surface of his body. Lin Dong did not show any signs of attacking after his dragon scales appeared. He took a step forward before his entire body slammed violently against Su Lei. Bang bang. During the time that the green light surged, the shadow of a dragon seemed to be following behind Lin Dong. That collision seemed to possess a tremendous force that could even split mountains. Green dragon bump. A low and deep cry was suddenly transmitted into Su Lei's ears as his eyes shrank abruptly. In the next moment, his formidable palm attack slammed directly onto Lin Dong's body, which was covered with green dragon scales. Bang! An energy ripple that was visible to the naked eye erupted and spread instantly after the collision occurred. The surrounding space became distorted because of that force. Su Lei's expression suddenly changed when his palm slammed onto Lin Dong's body. At this moment, he finally sensed just how wild and violent the strength that was contained under the green scales was. Under that kind of force, the strength of Su Lei's palm attack was quickly negated. Finally, it completely collapsed and disappeared in front of his extremely ugly expression. Grug? After his palm attack was dealt with, the strength of Lin Dong's bump came pouring forth without restraint. Immediately, Su Lei's face turned pale almost instantly. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat out as his body flew backwards in a miserable manner. However, Lin Dong did not have the luxury of time to celebrate, just because he wounded Su Lei. This was because he could sense that during the split second when he attacked Su Lei, Yao Ling and Luo Yi had already joined forces and attacked him. An unusually fearsome attack had targeted all the fatal spots on his back. Clearly, the two of them were also waiting for an opportunity like this to launch an attack. Only when one attacked, would one end up exposing an opening, just like now. Lin Dong was unable to kill Su Lei in a single strike. However, with the combined attacks of Yao Ling duo, all they needed was to target a single opening from Lin Dong in order to completely devastate him. Rat, you're finished. Lin Dong's eyes glanced behind him. He could already see the ferocious expressions of Yao Ling duo behind. Their fierce attack was about to reach him. Huff! A mouthful of white vapor was exhaled deeply from Lin Dong's mouth. He glanced at the withdrawing Su Lei, whose aura was sluggish. This was clearly the best opportunity to kill the latter. Lin Dong's eyes flickered rapidly. In the next instant, a bright green light suddenly erupted from within his body. After which, the green light gathered and formed a large green bell around his body. There were some green dragon tattoos on the surface of the bell. Unmoving green dragon bell. The large green bell was formed with lightning-like speed under Lin Dong's low voice. The fearsome combined attack from the Yao Ling duo also arrived the moment it was formed. Drill. A deafening sound erupted upon contact. That wild and violent strength, that was filled with murderous intent, also arrived together with it. Bang! Crack lines spread across the large green bell rapidly. Finally, it emitted a loud bang and was forcefully blasted apart. Countless green light shot out. An enormous strength came overflowing from all directions. Lin Dong also borrowed this momentum to retreat. In a flash, he appeared in front of Su Lei, amidst the shocked and furious gazes of the Yao Ling's duo. It's over. Lin Dong's eyes stared at Su Lei's pale face, while an indifferent arc was lifted on his face. I want to see how you are going to kill me. Even though his aura was currently sluggish, Su Lei was also no pushover. He was aware that all he had to do was to delay Lin Dong for a moment. After which, the Yao Ling duo's combined attack would be able to kill the latter. Hence, he maneuvered the Yuan power within his body in a crazy fashion. Bright golden light erupted from within his body. Clearly, he had pushed his nirvana golden body to its limit. With such a defense, it was likely that even Lin Dong would not be able to kill him with a single blow. However, Su Lei saw a ridicule flashing across Lin Dong's eyes when he prepared his defense. In the next instant, he saw Lin Dong extending his hand towards him. On his palm, a golden glow flashed, before a palm-sized large golden wheel appeared. Su Lei's eyes shrunk immediately when that golden wheel suddenly appeared. A feeling of death quietly bubbled in his heart. No. A hoarse cry had yet to be fully emitted from within Su Lei's throat when it suddenly halted. The golden light wheel shot out from Lin Dong's hand. After which, it quickly slashed Su Lei's throat with a speed that could not be sensed. A bright red blood trail appeared. This video will end here.